Hello, everybody. Let's have a chat about all sorts of things and some nonsense as well. Hold on, I'm just cleaning up my whatever. I'm using a TikTok live studio to update myself on whatever. Hey everybody, this is my English chat, so you can because I've been having trouble with people coming in speaking different languages. Can I pin my own comments? I don't know, sure. Let's see. No, I can't pin this. Well, whatever. Alright, so I'm almost up to 50,000 followers on my TikTok channel. And I like to keep practicing speaking to get my thoughts out there. So if you have any questions for me, just go ahead. Let's make this a bit of an interactive a little bit. Is the music too loud? I don't know if you can even hear it. Tomorrow I'm having an interview with Mr. Daniel Natal. We're going to talk about Israel. Because I had a question for him. I was wondering, what exactly is the true value of the state of Israel? I couldn't really figure it out. I can think of many reasons, but I couldn't really figure out why, geopolitically speaking, our media are so damn hysterical about Israel. So I'm going to interview him about it. Last time he interviewed me about the collapse of complex societies. This time I'm going to be interviewing Mr. Natal. That means tomorrow. And I think he will put the video up on his channel a few days after that or so. Usually he's very quick with the video editing, so. Yeah, I watched Sverige, yeah. I used to enjoy his philosophical posts, but then he started getting a little crazy. Now, I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to do a live stream with him. His early videos about philosophy and so on, all sorts of insights were very intense, very deep, very valuable. But then later he got a little nuts, Let's get to zero hedge. I'm gonna get my my news updated so I can just read the news a little bit. People always ask me, "What's your source, bro?" Like, Jesus Christ! All I do is I read the news for an hour a day or so. And I just update myself with not just the Western news sources, but I'm obviously also looking at everything else, the alternative news as well, alongside it, right? Right. Click on all. No, it's too crazy. So today I was thinking about this fact, you're one of them what? Be clear. So I was thinking about how interesting it really is when you are born, right? I'm speaking about mammalian life forms, like cats, dogs, and tigers, and human beings. You are born into a body. And if you look at horses, they have trouble using their legs at first. So it takes them a day or two or so, or some more time to figure out their legs so they can stand on them, walk around on them, and jump with them, right? And the same with elephants. They have a lot of trouble. The young elephant babies have a lot of trouble using their trunk. This is a very complicated piece of equipment to use it properly, right? And then I noticed, of course, human beings have the same thing. When we grow up, it takes us a year or so to learn to walk or to stand up, right? Some people can do it in 8 months. I've seen babies 6 months old walking on 2 legs, crazy stuff. But most of us around a year or so, right? It doesn't mean you're not a genius. But it's interesting, your soul inhabits this body, and then it becomes fused. It's intrinsically connected between the two. Your mind can no longer be separated from this body. This one is yours, and the only way for you to ever escape this body is if you would die. Well, let's talk about this. I don't know for sure if when you die, will your soul leave your body? That's a very interesting concept. What will happen to your soul? But before I get there, let's talk about that in a minute. Before I even get there, I would like to talk about this sensation of you are born, a soul is thrown into this body, right? And let me pop out my comment section here for a moment so I can read everything a little better. And so you're inhabiting the body, and you need to learn to use your body. Like the horse needs to use its legs, the elephants need to use their trunks, and people need to use their body. Then I noticed, of course, that this process of learning to use your body continues throughout your whole life. If, for example, you've never done any mountain climbing, and then when you're 35, you want to learn mountain climbing, you're going to learn to use your body in completely new ways that you didn't know your body was able to do. And the same with when you're very old, in your 80s or something, you may need to learn to walk with walkers, walking sticks, and so on. And so that's also very interesting. Your soul and your body are in a continuous learning phase. Or at least I would say, you continuously learn to live with your body, because your body ages and changes, it gets damaged, right? Your aging process probably is going to be a new learning process for you, which keeps the mind sharp probably. Yeah, without your brain you can't have thoughts. Yeah. Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah, so there's a physical connection to the mind. The brain is where the mind is. Yeah, very true. And then what about the soul? I read somewhere that the ancient Germanic peoples believed that the soul was your lungs, because through your lungs you inhale the air, and the air is a bit more related to the soul, right? So that's why. So the mind, the brain is the mind, the lungs are the soul. Then what's the heart? The heart is the spirit or something, you know? And so this connection, this interaction between soul and body, soul and mind, soul and brain, really, right? Yeah, right. But you use that brain, you use that soul to control and command your body. Someone told me that, if I tell myself I'm going to move my hand up, this is also a form of telekinesis, because it's here, right? It's my brain, my mind telling me to move my hand. It's the brain doing that. The control center is over here. And this is a form of telekinesis, and that's why they say that maybe real telekinetics is possible if you were somehow managed to be able to sense or feel objects around you and then lift them up through this sphere, right? But I've never been able to do that. So the heart is the God, you say. Someone says heart is the God, or is the spirit perhaps. The spirit, the God, the lungs are the soul, the brain is the mind. What else do we have? There's something missing, isn't there? The gut. What's the gut? The gut, your gut feeling, that is your connection to the physical world that you eat and digest. When I drink something, this is a cup of tea, it goes into my gut system. And through my gut, therefore, it works with taste, right? And smell is connected to that gut feeling as well. This is why when we are disgusted by something, it means we should not absorb it. It is bad for us. If it doesn't taste right or smell right, we should not digest it. It's bad for us. The gut feeling tells you, therefore, about the things that are good or bad for you. And the gut and the brain are connected, someone says. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And so let's talk about this a little more. Right? So the gut your gut feeling tells you whether something is good or bad for you. Maybe that is why the liberals in our time, these leftists, tell you only to use your rational brain. Be a rational citizen, a radical individualist who uses their own rational words and sensing, to disconnect basically from your gut feeling, which tells you what is right or wrong. Maybe morality has something to do with what is right or wrong, right? Yeah, I have to think about that for a little bit. I'm trying to do a bit of a live philosophy session this time. Let's make it interesting, Liberalism is leftism, because progressive liberalism is about progressively liberating you from your traditions, from your morality, and so it is left-wing. And so What else do we have? Our ears. That's for language and communication. So your mouth, language, communication. Let's go over these things. Well, the ears are for hearing other people's speech and sound, and so you can hear things that you can't even see. Maybe things behind you, you can hear them already. All right, so that's the ears, for ears and mouth for communication. The air is your soul. The heart is the spirit, or where God resides. Your gut feeling tells you what is right or wrong for you. You should listen to that. If you have the same way that when you have a rotten apple in your hand and it smells bad and it makes you cringe, right? You don't want to eat this. Ugh. It makes you feel disgusted. You can have that with people too, of course. When you meet people and there's something off about them, and you sense that not in your heart or your brain. Your brain tells you they're okay, but your gut says, "Ooh, these people are no good. They're bad people." Sometimes no mind is better. Like, don't think but feel. Yeah, exactly. Like, switch off your rational thinking processes, because here in the brain you have the laws and the rules, but here in your guts, right, your feelings tells you, okay, I don't need to listen to the laws and the rules anymore. I don't have to be a robot to be programmed, right? Yeah, some people are toxic, but you will feel that, right? If you allow yourself to listen to your body, and your body tells you, okay, these people are no good for me. They make me feel, Sometimes you have that feeling where someone's watching you and it makes you freeze up. Yeah, those people, they're bad people, right? I think we don't do enough with this. I think in our timeline, what do they teach us? They teach us to be intellectuals, people, right? Use your brain, right? They don't tell you to trust your gut, trust your instincts, trust your feelings, Right. And that's what I think we should teach people more, to listen to themselves, Right. I'm just doing a little show here. I just like interacting with people. That's just who I am, Of course, I want to have more face-to-face meetings, but my problem in my life was always, I never really met the right people. Like, I'm very, what do you call me, very right wing or so, but I am like a sort of reactionary. I just want to beat back the so-called progress that has harmed us, in my view. I want to do something about the degeneracy, push it back, push back on all the things that are harming us nowadays. And that's what I think that whole progressive liberalism stuff is all about. It's about making us feel ill and weak, and basically to break our spirits, to break our will. The government systems, the globalist systems, they don't want people to think freely or to have a mind, or or to trust your gut. Absolutely not. You have to be a bad person. You have to be like their slave robot. And that's why I always think that these elites love the robots, so they can replace us with so they can replace us with machines that they can program to do what they want. And that's the real issue here. I did not see that clip, Mr. Ozzy Love. Yeah. You're from Australia, I assume, Ozzy, right? No, I didn't see it. We are taught to fear so that we can be controlled. Okay. Could AI replace politicians? Now, AI is the AI, it was trained on the intelligence of the average white liberal New York Times journalist. They are not at all someone you should listen to, so you should not listen to or believe AI. To me, when I ask AI any questions, they sound like Wikipedia to me anyway, and Wikipedia is heavily censored. It's not real, Oh, you're from Sweden. Okay, sorry about that. So yesterday I went live and I got a lot of Dutch people in my channel because apparently they were trying to raid me or something. So I stood my ground basically, and I kind of like blocked all of these bastards, you know. Even the co-founder said Wikipedia is just a leftist propaganda. Nowadays, it's run by the CIA behind the scenes, you know. No, the idea that this is like a democratic platform where everybody has their own opinion is false. It's really it's curated by like just 20 people total, and most of the writing is done by a small group of just 300 people, and so it's not. And then the rest of us, we add some commas here or there. It's not real. Yeah. I was talking about drugs today on my Dutch channel. I said that in the Netherlands we have different phrases and words to describe drugs, like recreational drugs, right? So we can call drugs like things that numb you, that make you feel numb. And we changed the language during the 1990s or so, 1990s. We changed it into something meaning mind-broadening substance. Instead of numbing substances, it became a open your mind, broaden your mind substance, as though it were a good thing. And they started actually promoting drug use in the Netherlands, believe it or not. Our present mayor of Amsterdam, Femke Halsema, she's one of those completely drugged up women who's been doing drugs her whole life long. She's completely nuts. And that's the sort of people you get who promote these movements of do drugs because it broadens your mind. But it's not true. I got the impression that drugs, like someone says here, drugs actually cancel out your own feeling, or they narrow your consciousness. They narrow your consciousness to make you more controllable. That's my view of what it really is, a lot of these drugs, but you know. Yeah, I don't think we need a Wikipedia. At this point, what white people need to do in Europe is start writing our own history. We're done with the past, basically. We're going to do something new to establish our own new future. Now we can look at the past to see for ideas that we like. I would like to reconstruct something like the Holy Roman Empire in the heart of Europe, and do something like a Battle of the Teutoburg Forest where we defeat our enemy forces in an ambush or something. Things like that. So you look at the past for inspiration, but then you just, completely go your own way, really, if we can still do it. And I think we can. We don't have to save the white race. We're going to save like 20% or 25% of them, the ones whom we will take with us to the future. That's my point, really. But yeah, I started this live talking about some philosophical insights really about our senses, about our gut feeling and so. And I think we have become a society cut off from our feelings. That is such an important issue that's never really addressed by any politician. Politicians in the Netherlands, when you are born there, they say you are born to go to school and to learn a trade or learn to be an intellectual or a scientist and then get a job, and then you should be profitable to the economy. That's what it's always about. It's always about profiting the economy, and that's just insane. The people born in the Netherlands, the state looks down on them. There's a book by James C. Scott called Seeing Like a State, and it really describes how modern states and ancient states were developed by conspiracies looking to exploit and extract the human resource labor, and then control people toward this labor. They're just using people as a means towards their own ends to build them, impressive cities and so on. And that's the sickness of it all. These people are cut off, disconnected from their own gut feelings. That's why they always equate gut feelings with being a fascist. Or a Nazi, right? Because if you connect your gut feeling, you might not want to be around concrete walls all the time. You may actually want to explore nature and find there, the animals and the trees and so on. So you have a better connection with nature. After all, why do you think that small babies, human babies, they start crawling around, they start putting things in their mouth, right? Now in the indoors environment, that may be dangerous because they're putting cleaning detergents in their mouth or something. But in a forest, you take your baby to a forest, they can touch the moss, they taste the moss. These things are not so dangerous, or well, maybe some poisonous stuff. But my point is, your gut feeling is supposed to be connected to nature. As a baby, you're actually going to digest a lot of these things from nature, sound, and you put wood in your mouth and so on. And then your gut feeling becomes attuned to the environment you are living in. But in the modern world, we almost forbid babies to put things in their mouth at all, which is completely disconnected, right? You have no contact to nature. Your feet are not in soil, right? Your feet are on concrete or on wood. Okay, maybe you have laminated wooden floors or something, right? Yeah, mother's milk for immunity. Yeah, they also cut off the babies from the mother's milk to sell you formula, baby formula. The baby child already is under such an incredible attack from modern society. You're completely disconnected from anything natural. And then they even say that this natural stuff is somehow dangerous to you, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think you can hear what your soul says if you don't think, right? Just be like, switch off your difficult thinking. Yeah, I have trouble switching off my thoughts sometimes. So I remind myself, okay, go for a walk through the forest. I went through a forest walk. Sorry, I went for a forest walk like yesterday. Yeah, and it's good. So I can, suck up the fresh air and, not be bothered so much by Right. Okay. I think I will upload this podcast. I don't upload all of them, but if I manage to talk about an interesting topic, I'll put it on my YouTube channel. Yeah. No problem here. So but let's try to keep talking about all this. So do you think I'm so old? Do you think I'm 50 years old? No. No, well, I was not born in the 70s right? So let's see. I know I have to keep talking when you do a live show, or you do a live stream, or people might not even be interested. Like yesterday on my Dutch channel, I had 200 viewers at the same time. Like I normally never have that many anyway. And I was raided by a bunch of Dutch people. Like in the Netherlands, apparently, people are getting really upset about the things that I'm saying. So I have my Dutch TikTok channel where I also speak my mind. So I speak about ordinary things, but I sometimes express my emotion. That's also forbidden, that's also forbidden in the world. Well, thank you. You think I look 38? Yeah, I remove people who are bad people. So maybe you're one of them, I just look at the comments. I don't look at the people. I don't care. I just remove a lot of people all the time. I got raided yesterday. And what I did was I tried to just confront that for once to see what sort of things people do. People will tell me, for example, that the live stream wasn't working properly on their phone. And I immediately dismissed that. Like, well, that's your problem. Your phone is the problem. Because they try to make you respond to things like they're trying to falsify the reality. Like I did not have any connection issues with my phone at all. But they want you to believe that there's a connection problem or something. So you'll shut down and try again, right? So it was interesting to see what sort of mental games people are willing to play with you. And it doesn't seem to work on me that well. Maybe sometimes someone can fool me, but I think most of the time I'm kind of immune to that shit. Unless it's really clever, but then also I will learn from it. And the next day I realize, oh, they conned me, okay. I don't know who Ryan Garcia is now. It's not difficult. Yeah, it's not difficult to upset Dutch people. Let me see. Were they like you're not democratic and you love brown Russians or something? No, I think they were saying things like they're just insulting you the whole time, trying to make you trying to sway your emotions about this or something. Like I think what were they doing? Lots of Dutch people like calling you insane. That's like their default go-to, and I think that's betrays something to me. I think Dutch people have mental health problems, man. not me. I got away from them for that reason, you know. Right away, go to jail. All right. Yeah, certain words trigger them, yeah. That's how it is. I think in general, Dutch people are the most indoctrinated people on the planet, or the most indoctrinated people I've ever met. And as soon as you tell them anything that exists outside of the media bubble that they are fed by their national media, they will be immediately upset and panicking, like, what are you talking about? This is impossible. They're just domesticated. That's what I would call them. They're just so domesticated. Hi, bro. Dutch people are very domesticated people. They just don't know what is real. They trust their masters. They trust the government. Dutch people have they're very naive. Yeah, exactly. Dutch people have the biggest trust in the media and the government than any other European people. All right. Oh yeah, Andrew Tate got arrested again, but it's the same thing. It's because they were basically, these guys are these Muslim pimps pimping white girls, and now they got caught. So I'm not even sorry for them, you know. You know, I liked Andrew Tate. He popped up on my TikTok last year, and then I thought, okay, interesting. He said a lot of things about women, but then that's all he ever had to say, right? He never had anything more meaningful to say, in my view. And now he's Muslim. He converted officially, but I suppose he was always a Muslim. I think his dad's a Muslim, African Muslim, right? The guy thinks his dad's a genius, but I think his dad, like him, is just a con artist, you know. The clips from Haiti, yeah. Have you heard about what happened in Haiti? In Haiti, they have like a guy named Barbecue, black guy, who's running Haiti. And he's like this monstrous, evil gang murderer. I can't describe anything he does because basically they eat each other. But then again, there's another island, Jamaica, where they don't have this problem yet. So I wonder how that goes. Yeah, you can say he's a regular sub-Saharan, but I don't think they're all this way. There are many different ethnic groups from the sub-Saharan region, and some of them are these types of, you know, cannibals. So yeah, and they ended up in Haiti. So now you get them like that. But they surely must have also ended up in Italy by now and in Germany. There have been stories of an Italian girl was killed and eaten by one of them a few years ago. Whose dad was CIA? Ryan Garcia? Okay, or something? I don't know. Andrew Tate's father was CIA and black? Yeah, his father is African. Tate's father is, I think he's definitely African. And I thought he was Muslim, because why else did Tate convert to Islam unless his dad was already Muslim, right? Because people don't normally pick a religion like that unless you're born, unless you're used to it. I thought his father's family was Muslim, so that's why I thought they were. Yeah. No, his brother, isn't he also Muslim now? They both converted. What about Russia if Europe becomes Islamic? Well, Russia right now has lots of Muslim people from Dagestan and Chechnya and so on, right? So they have their own Muslims, but they also have like 110 million white Christians. So my view is always, the white Christian Europeans will have only one ally left, and that is with the white Christian Russians. Then we can work together. It would be like Protestant, Catholic, and Orthodox together. Maybe Christianity will heal itself again. My point is, this is all we've got to defend ourselves. There's nothing else. We can't rely on the British and the Americans, because their leadership is totally hateful of. They don't want Europe to be successful, because a strong Europe, a strong industrious Europe, always comes at the expense of global trade that the U.S. and Britain control. So even if they are white and Christian in charge there, they will still hate us for the fact that they don't want our competition. This is why they're destroying Europe right now. Europe is being deindustrialized. Germany is being destroyed. Like the top 10 of Dutch major corporations are thinking of leaving the Netherlands. One is going to Abu Dhabi, another is going to the USA. It's really crazy. If you're tuning in tomorrow, I'm going to do an interview with Daniel Natal, but I will do it with Zoom first, and then he's going to edit the video and he'll put it on his YouTube channel, The Daniel Natal Show. We're going to talk about the importance of Israel, or the value of Israel, because I don't understand it. I can't figure out why is Israel so important. So I'm going to interview him. I have loads of questions for him. So we're going to figure out... yeah, he should edit the video and put it online like a day later or so, sometime this weekend. Definitely. He's usually very quick with that. He's very knowledgeable, so I thought I'll just interrogate him on Israel. I was reading something today. In Orthodox Christianity, they have a very different view of Israel. So in the West, in the USA, they say that the modern day Israel is like the biblical Israel, and therefore we have to protect the Jews in Israel or somehow, right? But Orthodox Christianity says, no. Modern Jews are not believers. They are unbelievers. They are not the same people as those that were there in Israel 2,000 years ago. And so the Orthodox Christians say the only true Christians living in the Middle East are are Christian Middle Easterners who converted, who are like the earliest converts to Christianity. And so that's a very different view. So this is why Orthodox Christianity is more likely to support Palestinians against Israel. Either way, I'm going to talk more about that tomorrow because I don't want to get into these religious debates too much. I was thinking more along the lines of what is the geopolitical value of Israel. So I'm going to try to figure that out tomorrow in the Zoom call with Mr. Natal, and then we'll see about that. I wanted to go through some news articles, so I'm looking at Zero Hedge. Joe Biden is still nuts, right? He's still allowing mass immigration. I spoke about this in that short little video I made. Like, imagine the London banks own the USA, and they're just selling the US to China for profit. And so China is flooding the US with immigration because China wants that immigrant labor force to work for the Chinese middle class. So China itself will keep the borders closed, and they're just dumping immigrants in the US. The US is just going to be a dumping ground. Really? In Israel, they project images of their leaders everywhere? Wow, okay. We only do that in the Netherlands during the election seasons once a year. You see their posters up, but then, that's despotism. When you have this image of your great leader, like in China, they have like Mao Zedong still everywhere at the Forbidden City and so on, the Emperor City. It's amazing that they do that, yeah. Like in despotism, the leader is a sort of national baby, and everybody's responsibility it is to take care of the baby. Right? It's crazy. Even on the airport runway, wow. That's weird. That's typical despotism. That means they are like psychologically not Western. They are, because despotism is not a Western philosophy. If the USA and Britain are sold to China and Europe to the Arabs, why are we at war with Russia? Okay, because Europe is still a threat, right? They want the white people dead so that the Muslims can take over, basically also. So Europe, a strong Europe, and economically industrious Europe is going to be a threat to the whole Chinese American system. And I think it is just a way to subdue us, to destroy us. So it's up to us to decide what to do, Yeah, good question. Like, why are we still at war with Russia? I think this is a fake war where the intention is to kill off our kind of men, the white men, and then so that the Muslim men like Andrew Tate can take over. And basically all the white women would be forcibly married off to Muslims. I think that's what they're trying to do, like to erase Christianity, to erase morality, to change the morality of the European continent. It's like a Catholic morality, right? Even Protestantism, of course. But Tate got arrested again, And I think that's actually the real reason they want to erase that Christian morality, that patriarchal system. And that's what the war is for. It's just a fake war to try to kill us all. All right. So there's a podcast where a Kabbalistic Jewish man said he would rather live around Muslims than Catholic. Yeah, that's because of the morality. See, Jews and Muslims share the same morality, but Christians have a different morality because our morality was, influenced by Europeans, and Europeans were different. They are patriarchal in this sense. Lots of people think that, but some Muslim men have 3 wives. Isn't that patriarchal? No, it's not. Not necessarily. Take a look at lions, for example. Lion prides have like 1 alpha male and like 10 or 12 lionesses. But lions are actually matriarchal because it's about who they live with. The women are related. Female lionesses are usually related, as in sisters or nieces or something. And so Islamic culture is not patriarchal. The real patriarchy, you have it actually in rural Europe today, where the man is the man of the house. That's why they crack down on white men so much. They don't want men to have power over the world. See, they want to have a world government, but it also has to be led by women or by a woman, one woman. Like the British Empire really heavily hammered on, what was it, Queen Victoria? Or anyway, the female queens of Britain have always been there to support their version of a matriarchy, really. But, Tate is not masculine. He's a bisexual. He's very feminine. The Purge. Like in 2016, I really cared about Donald Trump's election. And now I don't. I kind of get tired with Donald Trump at this point. It's just the same. They're just too old. Where are all the good new candidates? Like, you're telling me a country with 300 million people does not have a single good damn candidate. They have this goofy doofy Biden, Kamala Harris. She's stupid. You have Michelle Obama, who's like too masculine for a woman anyway. You got Hillary Clinton. These are their candidates? Come on. Like, why don't they have someone competent at all? They don't have these. They just have puppets serving their masters. It's just so silly. Did you know that Joe Biden has been living in a copy of the White House for like decades? This guy's just totally nuts, man. Oh, here you go. There's a new movie about Japan, Shogun, an ancient Japanese samurai show. And this liberal guy asks, where are the black people? And he comes up with a made-up proverb that says something like, there's a Japanese proverb that says that for a samurai to be brave, he must have a bit of black blood. But of course, the phrase black blood refers to the darkness of the soul, your evil side, your dark side. Just as, those black people who say that ancient Egypt used to be called Kemet, and Kemet means black, therefore Egypt was still black people. Kemet refers to the black soil of the Nile river banks. So, and by the way, you should know ancient Egypt was really just that territory along the Nile riverbanks. They didn't live in the deserts. There was no Egypt in the deserts. They lived along the Nile, which was called Kemet because it's the black fertile agricultural soil deposited there by the Nile River. So it's bizarre that in modern English the word black, of course, means sub-Saharan African. And so now everywhere they see the word black, they think it means sub-Saharan Africa. But of course, the Japanese people of the 1600s had never even heard of black people. They had never met or seen them. They didn't even know they existed. And no, the Japanese samurai did not have Negro blood to be brave. What kind of nonsense is this, man? Like, they're trying to rewrite everybody's history. It's just so absurd, man. They want to blackwash everything. Like, they want to like, you see their intention here, right? They want every race on Earth to mix with the sub-Saharan blacks. Wow. Is that not enough reason for us to have like a reactionary movement and beat back progress? Come on, man. What will finally motivate people to stand up for themselves, to stop feeling so guilty, to stop being like this tolerant little shit, you know? But of course, this writer, I don't know what his name was, Asian Dawn. No, I don't know what it was. No, this writer, William Spivey, has been completely mocked online. Basically, absolutely nobody thinks he's sane. You know, weird, huh? Right here, actual Japanese people saying they've never heard of this proverb, right? They're just making proverbs up now. They're just making stuff up now. These people have a very playful relation to the past, to history. They will basically, invent a new reality to justify their desired future of you. All right. It's funny that some people seem to mistake misogyny or genuine women hatred for being masculine. That's not masculine at all. Come on. I made videos last year about what masculinity is, and it's basically to have be very confident with yourself, not be afraid of death. That's probably the number one criteria to have no fear of death, or at least a willingness to overcome the fear of death, or to learn to overcome it. The idea is that once you have overcome the fear of death, you've overcome every other fear, and you can be totally relaxed with yourself. You can be alone and be happy alone, and you can be with people and be happy with people, and that's a very powerful attitude, you know. Yeah, someone spoke to me about this guy, Jan Lamprecht. I checked out his websites. Yeah, he wanted to do an interview, but I didn't feel it necessary. You know, I'm picky about who I talk to, so it needs to be valuable. Liberals want to blackwash anything that's ever existed, right? Yeah, I already spoke about that. Anyway. Outside of social media, are you allowed to say what you do? What do you mean? Face to face with people, yeah, I would tell them my true beliefs, and usually people would respond shocked, like, do you really believe that? Like, most people, the normies, citizens, they're default leftists by default. They don't understand that you can even have other kinds of opinions, you know? Right? If you pay as much attention to your appearance as Tate, then you're not masculine. Yeah, probably, yeah. Do you think every white person around the world should be in Europe? At some point, I think Europe may be the last place. Yeah, Northern Europe, Central Europe, Eastern Europe. We will have to command the Northeast, Northwest Eurasia. Yeah, we have to command it. I'm not saying every white person needs to be here, because clearly, why should leftist Australians come back to Australia? Just stay in Australia. We want those reactionary ones who are willing to stand up for themselves and quit being tolerant. And for them, we may be able to, in the future, to build a new home for them. Yeah, and we would use them. Look, my point is, so far, if Europe needs immigrants, we should be choosing white immigrants first. Yeah. That's what we want to do. There are enough of us to hold the entire Australian continent. I don't think so, man. You have like 50-50. You're like 50% white, 50% immigrant nowadays, aren't you? Like, you're going to be flooded, man. You're not going to be able to stop it because you're not stopping them anyway now. So Like there were Germans who came back to Germany. Yeah, I've heard about the Volga Deutsche, the Volga River in Russia. It used to be colonized by Germanics, and they came back in the 30s. Yeah, but something like this for on a global scale. Yeah, I imagine the conservative right wing people. You know, if you think Australia is too hot for you, or if South Africa is too black for you, or you know, if you think the USA is too degenerate for you, then we can all reconvene in Europe, in the heart of Europe, to rebuild something like the Holy Roman Empire. Meaning, what I mean is a religious, reactionary empire, ethno-nationalist policies. So to support ourselves, to make ourselves physically, mentally strong again, and to support large families for ourselves again. So then we can outbreed the urbanites and the leftists and the Muslims. And that's the whole point. And Australia is way too hot. You should talk to Australians. They all complain about how hot it is in the summer there. It's insane. It's just not for white people. You know, lots of Southern Europeans are like Gothic or Visigothic, Germanic meaning, but some of them are Arabic, right? Like Southern Spaniards, Southern Italians. They've been Arabized to quite some extent. You can see it yourself. You just go there and you see with your own eyes that they're different, you know? There are so many attacks of like black people on white people. Here's this teenage schoolgirl, 15-year-old, has her head smashed into the concrete pavement by a gorilla, you know, a female gorilla. Jesus Christ, man, you know, these people, they get away with it because the news people, the journalists, they won't mention that the black race when the killer is black. They'll mention it when the killer is white, though. Right, let's see if there's more interesting news here. Yeah, what is it with the American conservatives and their relentless, unrelenting support for the Jews and for Israel? Crazy stuff, man. Here, they're using the influx of immigrants into the U.S. to justify a sort of program where they track everybody's movement all of the time, probably using your cell phone or maybe soon also some kind of an implant, right? They want to have a unified vision of unauthorized movement. Unified vision, you know, they mean that literally as in a technological vision. They want to have a computer system that shows them where everybody is at any given time, probably by tracking your cell phones. But then later, I assume implants may also be on the horizon. Is Giorgia Meloni becoming a centrist? She was always a leftist. Giorgia Meloni, I think she's Jewish. She's controlled opposition. These people don't care about the people of Italy or Europe. They just want to secure the interests of their overlords, the economic interests. I mean, these people, these politicians, they make 100,000 a year, 200,000 euros a year. They work for the millionaires and the billionaires. That's how it is in the West. In the Western world, the super rich people determine what goes on in the country. Yeah, someone was killed, a 13-year-old girl killed in Denmark yesterday by a brown. Yeah, we all wanted Giorgia Meloni to be real, but she wasn't, you know. Yeah, I'm going to upload this one to YouTube, but YouTube censorship is also quite strict. There are certain topics that will give you an instant takedown. It's so weird because, you know, every platform has its own weird, strange, quirky censorship program, and I already have a strike on YouTube, so you know how it goes. Before you know it, you lose your account there. But I'm gonna put this one on there. So yeah, who calls them alt-right nowadays? Yeah, I don't know. The marriage of convenience between von der Leyen and Meloni. These women are destroying their own people. Well, it's not even their own people because they're not us. They're not one of our people. They don't give a damn about us. All right, Hungary has been a member of NATO for 25 years now. Great. But Hungary is the odd duck out because Hungary really doesn't support the Western war in Ukraine against Russia. They want to add Albania to the EU now. Great. More Muslims. Albania is half Muslim or so, or more than that. All right, I was just looking at Zero Hedge and so on to see if there's some things to talk about. But a lot of times the news can be boring, you know? They tried to make her appealing for races. Yeah, they started that whole what's it called? There's this new fascist movement in Italy. But again, all these movements like the active club networks and so on, it's all fake, you know? It's just terrible. They're just cracking down on us, you know? Yeah, now they say there will be an ice age again, you know? Millet is Jewish, you know? He converted anyway, but I think he was born Jewish, so... My video about the Indian students, okay. Oh, you watched that one? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, they're trying to brainwash the migrants to think the way Western elites want them to think, and then they send them back out, you know, to make sure that India stays on the side of the West against China. That's what this is all about. Yeah. All right, I have an unstable connection now. I get a warning. Don't know what's going on here. Yeah. Yeah, you know, Shapiro and all those people, Jordan Peterson, the so-called dark web or so, the dark intellectual internet. Come on, what a joke. Brett Weinstein and so on. These people are all jokes, man. Do you think the elite will go after you? In the Netherlands, for sure, yeah. A Dutch TV show host, Tim Hoffman, who works for the National Broadcasting Agency, he went after me in a Twitter. And recently, the past few weeks, I see an uptick in really bizarre interaction with my Dutch followers. Like, there's like a whole gang of them working together, trying to locate me or something, trying to... I think some of them rang my parents' doorbell, but, you know, trying to figure out, you know, all about me. But they can go fuck themselves, you know. These things don't harm me in any way. Let me describe something important to you about your personal growth. The original Batman movie, or the one that came out in the 1990s or so, they had a score, a soundtrack. I forgot the guy's name, but the composer of that score, you know, with the famous marching sound and the Batman sound, it's iconic. You can find it on YouTube somewhere. And this guy initially was told that he had to work with Prince. Prince is this famous pop artist, right? And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. And because he didn't want to be a glorified arranger working for Prince, and that Prince would come up with the melodies and he would just have to like produce the score out of his melodies, right? So he didn't want to work with Prince, and he said no to that deal initially. And he thought that was the end of his career. Like he's never going to get a good job anymore because he said no to Prince, right? And so he goes home for a whole month. This guy was depressed, and he's like feeling like, okay, I'm miserable. I'm a loser. Nothing's going to work out for me. A month later, the movie company calls him and says, the Prince deal is off and we need you back. You can be the composer now. So he goes back and he composes this iconic score for this Batman movie, especially with the marching scene, the marching music. I can't do it. But this guy all of a sudden has the breakthrough of his life and he becomes a famous composer. And that is because he accepted, he was willing to kill his career to stand by his own principles. And that is so important to be, if you want to be a masculine man. It's not about your jaw. It's about, are you willing to say no to being a slave, but it makes you money? Or are you so afraid that you say yes to slavery for the money? You have to learn to say no to these things so that you allow yourself, you keep your opportunities open for those things that are beneficial to you, where you are going to be in charge. So in the end, this guy said no to Prince, no to being Prince's slave, and then fate came back to him and said, you know what, you deserve to be the composer anyway. And so that was his breakthrough. And this is how you should live life as a man. You need to learn to say no to those things where you are subordinate, where you're a slave, where you're not treated well, and only learn to say yes to those things where you are going to be in charge of what you're doing what you want to do, right? That's just so important. Yeah, like Hans Zimmer, for example, yeah. Of course, it's a Hoffman. Yeah, of course it's a Hoffman, yeah. Owen Benjamin was cool though, but left intellectual dark web. I'm not so sure about Owen Benjamin. These people, I won't even go into it, but all are Jewish. Ted Kaczynski's book is really well made. Yeah, I love that book. The way he described, it's just largely true what he says. So just take it. They made a movie about Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, right? And they paint him as a woman hater, and that's just not who he is. They kind of like raped his legacy by making him look like something he wasn't. He wasn't motivated by women hatred. He was motivated probably by abuse or something, but he was not motivated by hatred of women per se. So that's crazy. Yeah, really stand by yourself. You need to know what you want to do and then say yes to those things. Don't say yes to something just because it gives you an extra buck, because you'll be a slave. You got to say yes to the things that you want and say no to those things where you are subordinate, where you're not in charge, where you're not the leader. It may be hard. Like this guy, this director, like I said, he was depressed for a whole month thinking his career was over. And then fate comes back to him. Right, it's a movie where they also make him appear to be schizophrenic, right? Like, I think the CIA did tests with him when he was young. They manipulated his mind, so they really harmed him. If there was anything wrong with him, it's because of what was done to him, MK Ultra victim, yeah, that's what it is. Right, there's a video on my TikTok channel where I go through like the 30 books that I recommend for the right-wing movement. I don't know if I have it pinned anymore, probably not, but it's on there. You'll find it. It has this golden book page as a cover. The Dutch are tall because of genetics and well nourishment. Even 2,000 years ago, the Northern Europeans were already a bit taller than the Southern Europeans and fatter and more muscular as well. That's because we had the pastoralist diet of milk and meats, whereas the Southern Europeans were more on a grain diet. Especially the Romans, they were eating grain-based bread and games. But the Northern peoples, they were less populated. Of course, they had more space for their cattle, so they had more food, better quality food. That's it. And genetics, of course. It's both. What is better food for the brain? I'd say animal fats are good for the brain because your brain is basically fat. So you want animal fats for your brain, but you don't need to overeat on fats. But if you have enough fats to eat, your brain will be very healthy. Yeah. Any advice on getting better at reading? You're a snail. Are you a slow reader? I am also a slow reader, but I still read a lot. So when I read books, I make sure it's quiet and I just try to visualize what I'm reading because I translate the words into images in my head. So I see what they're talking about. And then I start to, what happens often is that I start to imagine all sorts of other things, right? So it takes me a long time to finish a book. But what you could do, for example, is read the index table, the table of contents, and then just skip over the chapters that you don't care about. I often read a book and there's like 3 chapters that are a waste of my time, then I don't read those. I just read the other parts. All right. The Roman Empire was the biggest empire, was it? No, Kublai Khan's, the son of Genghis Khan, had the largest empire ever, I think. And the British Empire was also technically larger than Rome, of course. Rome was just the Mediterranean Sea, Southern Europe and Northern Africa, and the Middle East. It wasn't that much, you know. Yeah, I once said that white men and women differ more than other races, yeah, physically. So the average height difference between white men and women is largest of all races, whereas in Asia, East Asia, it is the smallest. The rice, turns out the people who live off a rice-based diet, they are physically more equal, whereas pastoralist people are physically less equal. The women are just smaller, and the men are a lot bigger and more muscular. Yeah, on average, of course. Of course, we have lots of small people in the Netherlands as well. You have lots of short guys in the Netherlands. Just But Albert, did you know who also said so? Albert Einstein. He visited China once and he noticed this too. He wrote it down in his diary that the Asiatic people in China are physically more equal to each other. And now they discovered these notes and they call Einstein a racist because of it. Einstein is Jewish, but then they call him a racist anyway because he saw something that was real. That's crazy, isn't it? You're not even allowed to have your own observations anymore. You're not allowed to trust your damn senses anymore. All right. I have a problem with this race talk all the time because clearly the world I envision for Europeans is we're going to be European. We're going to be having our blonde people, our pale-skinned people, the blue eyes, the green eyes, the hazel and brown eyes and brown hair and black hair and so on. But it's going to be racially us. And it's not like we can say we recreate something like the Holy Roman Empire for like 100 million white Europeans. It's not going to be 80% black. It's not going to be 20% black. It's going to be like 0.02% black at most. Of course, I don't believe in purity, right? But I clearly do believe in aesthetics. Our people need to look like us so we can be who we are. What I found really interesting? It turns out that children around the age of 4 or 5, they say, if you ask them about their morality, they feel that morality is something that exists inside of them and can never be changed. That is so interesting. Children experience morality as something unchangeable that is inside themselves. What if you're 75% Euro, you don't pass as white? Maybe you had a black grandfather or something. I don't know. Do you think white people are better than black people? Better at what, You're very insecure. Why would you even ask something like that? Do you think I would ever ask Asian people, do you think Asians are better than white people? Why would I ask them that? Because I'm not insecure, see? It's not my problem. We're just going to look at ourselves and what we are going to do. And why don't you do that yourself? Why don't you go and live your own life instead of following white people all the time? Because it's annoying, you're not children. We're not your parents. We're different species, It's not a question, right? It's because you're insecure. It's just weird. course we are different. No, I don't get this. I don't get it why black people seem to think that everybody is black, but with a different color. They think white people are like, you know, black whites or something. Hey, are you back? Okay, I had a connection problem because I'm running this off of my cell phone internet, so something went wrong apparently. All right, I don't know if everybody left by now, right? You still here? Oh, people are still here. Okay. You know, the whole equality thing, of course, was invented by white people. Nobody believed in equality before we told them to. And equality meant equality before a court of law. So that two people commit the same crime in the same situation, same circumstances, they get the same punishment. That's what equality was about. And then they make it about racial equality, as though we're all equal. We can all be the best sprinters and the best mathematicians, and we can all be astronauts, and we can all be engineers. And that is, of course, a total disgusting lie. It's just not so. Yeah, I'm back. Stream wasn't loading for a minute. You're still here. Great. I have loyal followers. I don't listen to Bob Dylan, man. I never listen to our music. I listen to trance music, synth pop, synth wave. I make that kind of music myself as well. What else do we have? I like classical music. I like the soundtrack of Blade Runner. That's probably my favorite soundtrack. The old Blade Runner movie, the soundtrack. Probably the best music I've ever heard by Vangelis. And movie soundtracks, yeah, right. Love movie soundtracks like Braveheart and so on. Gladiator, old movies, because I'm old, right? I wonder what you can do, what I can't do. I don't know. Yeah, what's the best movie soundtrack? Well, what do you guys think is the best movie soundtrack? I thought Vangelis 1492 was a very, very great soundtrack. What's it called? I don't know what it's called. I also love the game soundtrack from Grand Theft Auto, of course. That's also good music. All right. GTA 4 and 5. 4, I think. 4 was really good. By the way, if you want to go subscribe to my newsletter, it's jmk.info. You can find it. You can get my emails, because I also write like at least once a week or send something out, or sometimes more often. Or if you want to support me financially, then you can get a paid subscription to my newsletter there, www.jmk.info, if you care about that. I don't know about the future of big cities. I always, for a long time, philosophically speaking, I've been imagining that cities are the end of people, and it's coming to an end. I don't believe cities will exist by the end of this century. Maybe they will. I could be totally wrong, but I feel that cities are going to collapse. It's just not feasible. But and either way, it's healthier. If you're a big, strong person, you don't want to live in cities and small houses. You want to have like space. You want to have fresh air and fresh water around you. You want to live closer to the nature. Dries van Langenhoven, yeah, the Belgian guy. I follow him on Twitter. He has good takes on opinions. Apparently, he had a private chat group with his supporters, and they posted memes like if you hold a black baby to your ear, you can hear the police sirens, you know. Or there's these black guys wrapped in golden aluminum foil. They call them Ferrero Rocher. That's like chocolate. And he got a full year sentence or so, but I think he only needs to go to jail for like 2 months or so. But still, 2 months plus something like 20 or 26,000 euros fine. It's a bit extreme. Yeah. I think he didn't post these memes. He just saw them in the group. So that was apparently his crime. Yeah. But you see what they're doing, right? All right. So I planned for this. This is going to happen to me too eventually. So I don't care about going to jail for something like that. It will just make me stronger. It's just going to add some credit to my persona, right? Like, oh, this guy went to jail for the movement. At least I'll get credit out of it. So I don't care I'm not afraid of this. It's just that I wonder what they'll catch me on, because I'm not as stupid as some other people are, you know. For example, if they tell me that, oh, you said bad thing about Muslims, I actually have written several articles where I acquit Muslims from 9/11, for example. So I'll just show that to the judge. Well, what about this? You say I hate Muslims, and what about this? You know, so, you know, I'll write a book in prison, definitely. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Jail for memes, ridiculous. Europe does not have a First Amendment. We don't have free speech at all. We have basically allowed speech. Hey, Johannes, I can't afford a house in the USA. What's your advice? I'll name my second born after you. My advice, Sweden. You can buy a 1,000 square meter plot in a small town for $8,000, and then you can build your own house on top of that. Or you can buy a house. You can buy houses in Sweden for like 20,000 euros. That's like $25,000. But you'll be living in a small town, rural Sweden, and you might need to learn to speak Swedish. But at least as a foreigner, you can just buy houses like that. Sweden is very easy about, very, very, very lax about selling houses to foreigners. Just get a what do you call it? A broker or something to help you out, to inform you. Don't take my advice, but it's cheap. If you're really, really desperate for a house, then yeah, Sweden rural Sweden might actually be healthy for you anyway. Like, what are you doing in New York or something, right? Who wants to be there? Right. One Belgian politician is going to jail for a year, yeah. Who was behind 9/11? Well, the Americans themselves did it. Their secret services with the help of Israel. They needed to create some conflict in the Middle East so they could keep the American war industry going. Because the war at some point became the only profitable industry, so they just looked for wars. I think the whole 9/11 and the wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, had no real purpose other than taking the oil. But they didn't even do it for the oil. They did it for the war industry. So what they do is they rob the white middle class of their taxes, and they spend those taxes on the military, and then the military companies, like the weapons companies, they get rich. The security companies, they get rich. That's all it was. That's all it was. What I wonder, though, is what do they spend their money on? That's what I wonder. What do these billionaires spend their money on? I think strange things that we can't even imagine. Jürgen Konings, yeah, I remember that guy. He got killed, yeah. Foreign owned, yeah. The Netherlands has protections against foreigners buying real estate, probably. Yeah. You have to be have a passport, yeah. There's a website, a Swedish website called Hemnet. I'll type it out here, Hemnet. If you can find it online, there you can browse all sorts of property throughout Sweden. Of course, it's a bit more expensive in the south, the rural south. If you want to go real cheap, you can go to the north. In the north, you get to see the Aurora Borealis, but it will be like there will be snow on your porch for like 8 months a year, 9 months a year. All right. Never what is Tucker Carlson deep cover CIA asset? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Right. It's very obvious that the people in charge of the Western world are anti-white, anti-male. They want us extinct, probably because of some deep-rooted envy, is that we have a superior morality. We are basically different beings from them. They just want us gone and replaced. You know, as Western people, we imagine war as a penetrative act. Like you shoot someone, stab someone with bombs or with shrapnel from a grenade, right? Or with missiles. This is how we imagine war. But other peoples are far more feminine, and they wage war against us through slow poison. The slow poison. You know, this is how women murder men. Women murder men with poison. They don't use knives. So we're not really, psychologically, not really prepared to deal with being murdered with poison, although you can become aware of it and then, you know. Taffy Thomas. Interesting, yeah. Let's see if there's something important on this side here. Did I answer what? Tucker Carlson? Yeah, I think he is CIA, just like Alex Jones. You know, these people are there to fool you in some clever ways. Yeah, I always named the J. I used to do that all the time, man. I think AI is going to turn out to be very stupid, and it's going to ruin the world. Anybody who relies on it will be wrecked in the end. It's not actually intelligent. You're basically talking to a white liberal New York Times journalist, and their worldview is, by the way, it's hard coded. The values and the principles in this AI are hard coded in by a programmer. It's not real. It's feigning intelligence. It's a language interface, like you can communicate with language between a human and a machine. It's basically a better search engine that is able to find content on a deeper level. Great, that's good. But then when you start asking it about ideas and values, it's all hard coded in. It's programmed in. Spell check 2.0 maybe, yeah. Right, but the coding is probably from Stack Overflow or something. There you have the solution. So it reads all of Stack Overflow and knows the solutions, all right? Yeah. All right. Will you make a video again focused more on psychology, like around the beginning of your YouTube channel? Yeah. Maybe I will sometime. Yeah. I used to have like topics, and then I would do a podcast topic by myself. But now I'm doing live streams, so it's more interactive. So my thoughts on digital idea, it's just a slave idea, yeah, to get you to get you to use the basic income. It's communism, basically. They already deployed this in Indonesia and India. Apparently, they have digital idea. It's just Europe is behind, probably because we have legacy infrastructure. Look, the internet infrastructure in Indonesia is probably more modern than what Germany has, because in Indonesia got it later. They got it in the 2000s. Germany got its infrastructure in the 1980s. You know. Oh, am I disconnected again or something? No. What's going on here? I got all these messages. Okay, whatever. Connection's fine, yeah. It's as usual. So I was thinking about how to describe myself politically. People ask me like, are you a National Socialist? And then I realized, based on my own thinking, I had to reflect on myself a little bit. Like, what am I really? And I would call myself a reactionary. I'm a reactionary conservative who wants to beat back progress, because this so-called progress has harmed us. It was not good for us. We need to return to ourselves in this sense. I oppose urbanism. I oppose urbanization, for example. So I would call myself a reactionary, and I support ethno-nationalist policy, of course, and I don't want to live with other people anymore. I don't want to be exploited by other people anymore, which also means that we ourselves need to invest in making ourselves mentally and physically strong again, you know? Yeah, I don't like 15-minute cities, no. Do you think France will eventually have race riots as they become a smaller native minority? Yeah, possibly. From the looks of it, they're just going to be killed. It's going to be like South Africa. You'll be slaves of the blacks. Yeah. But that's my point. Why don't we reconvene somewhere in the world? I say Central Europe, Eastern Europe, Northwest Eurasia, Scandinavia, any place where we can have access to pastures for pastoralism, then we can live. That's how we will produce food. And then we simply make ourselves physically, mentally strong, build our defenses, build up the industry that we need for those defenses, and we simply start thinking extrovertly, as in we're going to have large families again, and we're going to send our sons out to the world again. We're just going to do the opposite of what everybody expects us to do. They expect us to lie down and die, and we're going to do the opposite. We're going to stand up and fight. If white men act like a black, then it would be very stupid of us. You know, disrespectful and aggressive. Why would you want to be like that? We're not going to be like that. We're going to be, you know, very, very different. We're going to be superior, if that's what you want to hear. Pogroms against the whites here. But so far, the immigrants are prisoners of the cities. The question is, can we maintain the countryside? That's going to be our goal. Our goal is to outbreed these immigrant urbanites. And that means we need to support families in the countryside, large families. So we may even need to have to break up these massive farms, because the farms have scaled up over the decades, right? So we want to break down the farms again so that more families can live in the countryside and have big families again. And then we're going to outbreed the urbanites and basically take back Europe. No, they're not going to replace us. They end up getting stuck in the cities like they always do. All these people from the Arab world, they live in cities. You know, you can't live in the desert. They all live together. So they're used to that. And that is how we defeat them, because we are going to have, you know. Right, but we can do with less wealth. For example, a solution would be to learn to live like the Amish or the Mennonites or so, without too much of a technological footprint or a high intensity footprint. So we can then, you know. Do you play any instruments? Yeah, I can play keyboard. You know, I produce music, but I use Cubase. Yeah, cities are easier, so that's why if we make ourselves strong again, we can actually benefit from the non-urban world and basically survive in that. Here, let me show you something I can play. I don't know if you can see this. Wait, I need to put those aside. I have this thing in front of my computer. It's sort of like a mini keyboard. Here, you can see it. This is the, what's it called? The Minilab 3 by Arturia. I use that to produce music. Do you think there's any useful Western European political parties? No. So far, look, I like the Dutch party FVD, Forum for Democracy. On a content level, I support them, right? But they have 3 seats out of 150, so they have no power, and that's the problem. We always have, we have the ideas, but there's no way that you can win power in the political system. It's just not going to happen. Like I said, the media is where the power is because the media programs people what to believe. And most people watch TV and they believe the news. They just believe it. Okay, I'm nearing, I'm going to try something. Don't know if I can do it. Maybe my computer will crash now. So I've been speaking for 1.5 hours, so I'm going to demo you my last trance song that I made. I'll show you how I made it or what I did with it. If I can get it on screen for a minute, because I'm using TikTok Live Desktop. It's a software, it's like I think they copied it from some open source tool. But let me see if this goes right. No, can't use that. All right, here. Add source. Let's see if I can do it. Display capture, window capture. All right, it's still loading. All right, here we go. Then I can. Wow, it's all a bit too much. Okay, here we go. This one, should be able to do it. All right, but I think I need to do it this way. I need to make myself a bit smaller now. So I wonder, rotate camera, unlock it, and then I can. So yeah, okay. You see some things moving probably. I'm gonna make my own screen a bit smaller now. I'll show you this thing. So this is my Cubase installation. It's called Cubase. Or what programming to learn would you suggest? If you want to make music, I suggest Cubase. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna turn up the music. Can't use my keyboard right now, but I can probably play here. What's this all about? Let's see what this was. Can you hear that music coming through? Or is it not loud enough? I don't know. All right, so this was this is one of the trance song that I just released a day ago or so. It's called Finlander. I'll type it in, Finlander. So I'll go over a little bit of what I did here. Here, this is an arpeggio stuff. Let me see where it goes. Here, sounds like this. Whoa! I'll get to that in a bit. Dun, 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 dun. All right, that's a bit. Let's see. I got strings here as well. How did they go together? And I have a bass line. It goes together like something like this. And then I have a whole drum kit. This is 150 beats per minute, yeah. Up tempo, yeah. Let's see. I got some claps and snare rolls and stuff. So this runs in the background, of course, and then you have some sound effects. Snares. Yeah, it's kind of techno, right? Techno with a trance melody. I had some special sounds here as well. Either way. Yeah, you can find this on Spotify or probably Finlander by, I'll type it out here, Finlander. The JMK is my artist name, Finlander. It's also on my SoundCloud, yeah. Let me check my username for that. It's the JMK, but I know, okay, the JMK Music, this is my SoundCloud name. Yeah, I use chord pads for this. Cubase comes with the chord pad system. I don't know if I can show you that. Let me see for a moment. Here we have a string section. Let's see, chord pads here. Do you see this on screen, I suppose? Yeah, you see this thing below? It's like, so this is a really easy way to start playing with chords. Wait, let me come up with maybe this one. So that's really easy to play around with making melodies. There's several ways to make melodies. One way would be using chords. You just play with the chords until you have like a sequence that you really like, and then you can still build your own like melodies on top of it. Or sometimes I come up with an actual melody that indeed I play on my keyboard, and then I turn that into chords later. So it depends on which way you want to start. Do I have a better sound here? This one maybe. Yeah, you can do strings as well, yeah. Oh, what do I have here? Either way, that's how you approach that. And then of course here in these kind of this is how you record your melodies. These are the chords basically, and then there's lots of stuff going on. There's so many tools you can work with. So anyway, that's it for today. Maybe I'll do a whole music production session someday. Here, pause this one. All right, putting myself back here. All right. Okay. I've been talking for almost 1.5 hours now, so I'm gonna quit it over here. I will upload this episode to my YouTube channel tonight, so that it should be on there in a few hours then. And I wish you all the best. And you can go to my Substack newsletter, jmk.info. So see you later, people.